Okay, here we have the Crossfire ISX. Everything is on one bag here. We see we have the fin sheet, some motor mount, centering rings, motor hook. There's the nose cone, kind of stuffed into the body. The body tube has some nice pre-cut slots, and this yellow thing is just like an engine spacer, just so you know how far to space. And so here's the shock cord and the parachute on one bag there. So with assembly, you see the first step is to prepare fins, showing that you sand down fin stock there before you cut it out, each one, and then round the leading edges. So I like to keep everything in the bag until I need it, so that I don't lose any of these small pieces. So take out the fin stock here. So even though they're laser cut, there's these tiny little tabs that hold them in place still, and that's what you want to cut, just these little tabs, and make sure that it comes loose nice and easy. First, I like to use 400 grit. Sanding like this. Not too much, just to smooth out the edges. The other side. A lot easier to sand them all at once this way than having to try and sand them later. So nice and smooth. There we go. Kind of smooths them out a bit. Right. Now, take my X-Acto here. I don't know if you can see here, these little tabs, what I'm going to cut out on each one to make sure it comes out. There. Now this leftover fin stock, I like to save these because you can always, like I make my own custom rockets and I just use what's left over here for other stuff. So I always save these. It seems like a lot of balsa left over. So you notice these are the 3 fins. It has those little tabs that you had to cut out are still there. You can kind of feel them. Now, although the directions may not say it, I like to take a little sandpaper and just get those off. You don't want those showing up when this thing gets painted. Just nice and gentle. I like using 400 grit on these smaller rockets. Just, you could probably use 180 grit, but I like using 400. You have to sand a little more, but it's more of a smoother sand there. So you know it's nice and smooth. Same here. Now I only do this just to make it look a little better, and you don't want those tabs sticking out. Now you could do it this way. This is probably a good way as well. Line them up. A little sand. Estes kits used to recommend this anyways. Now I notice they don't include that in the directions very much there. So nice and smooth, but not too much. And this is the fin root here, so you really don't want to sand this if you don't have to. But I'm just going to get rid of that tab. I'll just do this by hand. Just get rid of that spot there. There, much better. So yeah, these fin roots, you usually don't want to sand these because these have to stay flat to the body for sure. Now, in the directions it shows rounding the leading edges. And on this one, this little tab here, this will be a trailing edge because these little pieces will be glued in like so. So you don't want to sand this part, just this leading edge. That helps with aerodynamics a little bit, gives you a little more added altitude. So what I do, and like I say, you could probably use 180 grit, but these small balsa fins, I try to use something a little more gentle. Just kind of angle it about 45 degrees like that. And let's do a little on both sides. You can check as you go. You see it starting to round it a little bit there. A little bit more. I don't know if you can see this on the camera, but it's a nice rounded edge there now. And just do that for all three. Okay, now to assemble the engine mount, you need these pieces. And step one is marking various measurements, but before I do that, I'm going to sand off this kind of shiny coating so that we get a better gluing surface for the centering rings. I'm going to do that now. I'll just take some 180 grit, rough it up a bit. It's going to be on the inside, so we don't need it to look good, so that's fine if you sand off that shiny part. Okay, so I'll measure 1/8, 5/8, and let's see, 2 1/4 and 2 5/8. So I'll do that now. Okay, now that we have that marked, instructions show cut a little slot on the 2 1/4 inch mark, which I will do here. There, just a little cut like that, because eventually this is going to just go in there like so. Then we mark 1/2 inch. There. And step 4, insert glue to right around here. So what I'm going to do is measure about there. There. I like to use wood glue because it has a higher tack to it than Elmer's. It helps hold things in place. And this way I bring it around. It's just coffee stir stick. It comes in handy. Okay, now that you've done that, take engine block, which is the smaller of these. Make sure you keep straight which is front and which is back here. In the back side, and then shove it in till we get to, there we go, right to that 1/2 inch mark. There you go. Now let that dry. and I'll go on to the next step. Okay, now set this in here, like so. Make sure that's nice and straight. A little bead of glue right about here. Not too much. I tend to put too much. Slide that on to that 5/8 mark that we made. Glue and right there. I want to make sure this is nice and straight, not kind of off to one side or the other. There we go. Just like that. And we'll let that dry. So, don't need that anymore. Okay, next step, tube marking. It says to draw a line the length of A, center between. So just mark kind of halfway point here. Doesn't have to be exact. They used to say you use door frame. I like using an aluminum angle, because it's more straight than some door frames. So let's see. Like that. And then to mark 3 1/4 inches from the bottom. Three and 1/4. There you go. Marking the tube. Now what we need to do is install the engine mount. We need to place some glue inside here, and another ring right there. Do that now. So it doesn't give an exact measurement for where to put it in here, but it shows it just ahead of these, which you can see. Yep. Okay. About there. Mm-hmm. Okay. Put some more. This side. And I want to insert it to that 1/8 mark we made earlier. I'll go fast so it doesn't set up on it. 1/8 mark. There we go. Just like that. Now for the nose cone, it's got a tail cone here attached to the nose cone, all one piece. What we'll have to do is we'll have to cut it here, here, and here. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, once you got that cut, you're going to end up with these parts. The nose cone there, and then this is the engine bell. Just want to kind of clean up the edges here. Do you cut them? And so that's that. So to sand it, since this is where you're going to glue it. I'm wearing gloves because I'm using a different kind of glue here. It's always good to wear gloves when you're using something other than wood glue. Just kind of take some rougher grit sandpaper and just kind of roughen this up, because this is going to go like so. Okay. Before we do that, just roughen this up so the glue sticks on a little better. Ooh, this stuff stinks. Just smooth this out a bit. Make sure it gets all the way around. Twist it in there. Stuff gets kind of messy. I'll put a little more on there. I think this tube is a little old. It's got this little notch for the engine retainer hook there. Now I'm going to take some tissue there. Wipe this excess glue off. There we go. Keep it nice and neat here. Oh yeah, I forgot to cut out a little notch here. So we'll just do that. Okay, now that I've cut this out properly, you see that deflects up far enough now to get that engine in and out, like so. Okay, now I'm going to start gluing on the fins. You've roughly sanded these before. This will be the fin root, and these go in these slots like so. And you'll notice if you dry fit there's a little bit of forward and backward movement here. I'll try and keep them as far back as possible. And you want to make sure you don't see any of those centering rings inside there, otherwise it might be a little bit off. But you want a nice good, contact like that. So, start with my glue here. be like so. Some on the side. Again, I tend to put way too much, but it's okay. Like so. Clean that up. Run that down. Go. Okay, now that I've glued these all 3 fins on, and glue these little things on the end, they just slide in like so. Like that. Okay. Spread it around a little bit. Go. All set. Now, while that dries, I've gone ahead and marked 3 1/4 inches here on the launch lug line. So a launch lug is rather, oops, there we go. It's rather smooth, so I need to rough it up a bit and get better contact with the glue. There we go. About there. And it's important to make sure it's straight. Kind of put down it like that. Okay, that's good. Clean up some of that. important to have this launch leg straight so that it thrusts straight up the launch rod. As little resistance as possible. Okay. Okay, now to install the shock cord mount. A little bit of glue on the number 2 here. Slide it in there. Fold down. Push it down nice and good so it's as flat as possible. There we go. Just let that dry. You gotta watch and make sure it doesn't come apart on you right here. Oops. There you go. To attach the parachute to the nose cone, first we have to make sure this hole here is cut out. The attachment loop. It's kind of a very thin piece here, and make sure you don't cut that. Okay. Now, fold it. Just set that aside. Yeah, now what I like to do is cut out this center circle, and the dotted line gives you a nice, more stable descent. It's not necessary, but make sure you don't have one of these lines underneath this when you do it this way. Okay, here we go. Now, gather all the lines together. Like this. Give yourself a little tiny loop there. And thread it through. Parachute goes through that loop. Pull it straight. There you go. We're going to attach the shock cord mount. I'm going to curve it a little bit. A little bit of glue. Make sure you get it covered there. At least 1.5 inches in. That allows room for that nose cone to attach. Pinch it in nice and good. Make sure that it's making good contact with the inside of the tube. You don't want this coming loose. You're going to have a bad day. There we go. And then just let that dry. Now to attach the shock cord to the nose cone. You tie it at least twice. I tend to tie it just 3 times just to make sure. There we go. more. There's glue on my fingers. There you go. So that's tight. Trim off some of that excess. Carefully. There we go. Just like that. All set. Okay, now with the parachute shock cord stuffed inside, there we go. Complete rocket. Just needs paint. Another thing on some of these rockets is, like, this nose cone is very, very loose. The fit is loose, like, see, it falls right off when I let go. That what you want is you want it a little bit snug where it can kind of hang by itself and not fall off like that. Which is, in that case, what I'll do is just put a little bit of tape around here to snug up that fit. Now I've added a little bit of tape, masking tape, works fine. So now it's won't come loose by hanging there, but it still comes off pretty nicely. That's a good fit right there. And here it is, all finished, the Crossfire ISX. Looks pretty sharp. Now I painted it the stock colors, but you can paint it obviously any way you want. Don't even need to use decals, but that's it.
Pad A tails. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Was that B?
That's A.
A.
Oh.
Oh.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
There we go. Yay!
I'm gonna get it.
Yeah, go get it. Ethan.
There goes the phone.
There it goes.